Okay, so first, welcome. And today I will talk about Python package we have been developing at Roche. So the aim of this package is to orchestrate clinical trials output generation. So today I won't do a demo of this package. I will just introduce it quickly, and we will then focus more on Python best practices to be able to deploy a Python package. So first, before going deeper, I would like to add some context about Python programming at Roche for clinical studies. So we started to transition more and more into hard programming more than 3 years ago, actually, with some internal global packages, and we are having a wide open source community also with Pharmaverse. So about our programming, we are having really robust code quality principle. We are working a lot about automation workflow to be able to deploy our packages. But for Python programming, this is a bit different because first, we are not using Python directly to produce clinical study outputs, but we are using it more and more for, I would like to say, automation tools, especially because Python contains a lot of frameworks and packages to be able to do some automation tasks and also data processing. So we needed a bit to do from scratch what we have done for our programming about enhancing some code quality principles and also working on some automation workflows. So now let me just introduce quickly our package. It's called LoPO. It stands for Google Sheet List of Planned Outputs. So the main purpose of this package is just to work with a Google spreadsheet to be able to enter some data from our users, especially some SDTM, ADAM, and TLG specification. Then with our Python package, we are retrieving all this data using Google APIs. And then we are processing all this data and producing some output files. Some are quite specific to Roche and specific to some internal tools, so I won't talk about it in detail. But one of our main features is also to produce some snake files to be able to use a specific Python framework called Snakemake. So Snakemake, it's a workflow management system, so it will allow you actually to run some jobs with some specific dependencies. And it's also possible to make some parallel runs. So in our case, we are using it really to perform some clinical study output orchestration. And our tool is now more and more used by our users. So we really needed to think about delivering good code quality in our daily development and also start working on some automation workflows because we need to deliver more and more often some new features. So of course we need automation for this. So first, I will just start talking about our best practices in our daily development. So first, let me start about code style. What we are doing about code style is following PEP 8 best practices. PEP stands for Python Enhancement Proposals. This is a global website made by Python community developers itself. So it's really the best companion for Python developer about coding style. And then we are also ensuring for each new feature that we are doing some auto testing. So for this, we are using PyTest and unit tests, and also using Python coverage library. I will show you some examples a bit later about coverage reports. And we are ensuring, of course, that we are documenting every new feature. So for this, we are using Python docstrings and using pdoc to be able to generate our documentation from these docstrings. And actually, Python, there are a lot of frameworks to be able to do this. There is also Sphinx, which is a quite well-known framework. We are also ensuring some modularization in our package because in Python, it's possible to work with some module approach. So as a module, it will be basically just a subdirectory. So it will allow you to really well organize the codes. And it's quite important, especially when you want to add more and more features to have really good organized code. And also about dependency management, we are filling all our dependencies in the TOML file. So it's a bit, for our programmers, it's a bit similar to description file where you will fill out all our dependencies. In our case, what we are trying to do is to use really the latest version of given dependencies, ensuring we are not breaking any test. And also, we are using custom exception class. This is a possibility in Python to do some custom exception class. So then it's possible to catch a specific exception on a given method. So it's really convenient, especially for complex error handlings. And then we are also ensuring some security checks. So actually to check when we are adding some new dependencies, if it does not contain any security breach, or also checking for all dependencies as well. So for this, we need to check CVE database. It stands for Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures. So of course, it's super tricky to do it manually because CVE it's a huge database, but there are some automation tools to do this. So I will talk about this later too. So now I just would like to talk about how we automate all these steps in our daily development through CI pipelines. So first, for each new commit, we are entering to run our test suite with PyTest and coverage. And actually, I just wanted to show you in Python how coverage report looks like. It will generate a whole HTML website. You can go through all the submodule tree. And then you will see that it will highlight some lines in your code that you didn't cover with your test. So in this example, it's just a basic example where the exception case was not covered. And so this is what we are doing for each new commits, and for each new release, we are still running the test, but also pushing our package to our internal package registry, which is GitLab CI package registry. We are also building our documentation with PDoc, and we are also using Quarto. I think it's quite well known by our developers community, especially because it's our Markdown-based framework. So in our case, we are using Quarto, yes, to generate the user guide. So I just wanted to show some example because in Quarto, we can also insert some notebooks, insert some code snippets and some graphs. So it's really quite a nice tool actually. So this is where we are actually for our automation workflows to be able to deploy our package. But I want also to talk about next step because it's not over. So what we would like to add also is a Python linter using Flake 8. So Flake 8, it's directly linked to Type 8 recommendations. Also, we would like to add some automation about security checks. So actually for this, we want more to use our GitLab security internal board. So it looks a bit like this. You will have all your dependencies listed. So of course, in this case, you want really to fix the high vulnerabilities, which is quite important. But of course, it's quite internal to GitLab. For open source solution, actually, there is also Python safety board. It will provide also, it will list all the vulnerabilities, potential vulnerabilities for all your dependencies. So it's a bit the same tool, but without a dashboard. And then what we would like to introduce, it's also SonarQube. Actually, it's one of my favorite tools about code quality. So it looks a bit like this. It will be like a global dashboard on all the code you are pushing to your repository. So it will highlight several problems. So first linting issues, but also it will highlight your code complexity. Also potential bugs and even some security hotspot as well. So it's really convenient tools for daily development. Now I just want to talk also about next steps for Python development and Python community at Roche. We would like to start a website about best practices and also start a website for a kind of user guide for beginners. Also work on some reusable CI/CD workflows for Python packages. And also align a bit on which tools and frameworks and packages we would like to use in Python, because Python is really a wide community of developers, packages and frameworks. For example, just to produce the documentation, you can have like 4 or 5 different frameworks. So to be able to do this reusable CI/CD workflow, we need also to decide which tools exactly we would like to use. And I just wanted also to add just this last slide about Python programming. If you want to start going deeper into Python programming, just some idea if you want to start really quickly without setting up Python locally, you can start with Kaggle, which is a data science competition platform initially, but it contains also a lot of tutorials and notebooks, also a lot of R notebooks actually. And also just some personal recommendation if you want to do some more advanced Python programming. I would recommend to use some suitable IDE, so VS Code or PyCharm. I just put a link on the VS Code tutorial to set up Python. And also, I would strongly recommend to work with virtual environments if you start with Python. Okay.